Hello, everybody. I got a popular demand of people blogging on YouTube, and they were asking me to show them whether it's true that I was cheated by the World Bank in 2000. They wanted me to show where it is written. If you see here, this is my dissertation that I wrote, I put together in 2000 as a doctoral student. And you can see here, it says Messi C.O. Chigubu, copyrighted 2000. As part of the acknowledgements, if you go or you get my dissertation, on the second page of my acknowledgements, it reads that in February 2000, this study won US $100,000 from the World Bank Innovative Competition as seed money for Zimbabwe project that would help alleviate the horrendous poverty being experienced by both kinship caregivers and the orphans. That was in 2000. Furthermore, after I graduated as a student, I put together the findings, and I published a book. This book here, which you can find, and it says here, HIV/AIDS terror awakens the voiceless orphan. You will find in my book, I also included the same statement. This book was published 2006 by Traveled Publishing Company in Canada, and you will find, if you go, it also says this study was carried out in Zimbabwe in 1998. It won US $100,000 in February 2000, and you see in brackets it says, unfortunately, on paper only to current date. So my popular bloggers, you see the truth that I have here and the book that I published. You can buy the book and you'll find it's there. You know, when I think about how I was swindled by World Bank in 2000, it helps me to ask myself, who am I? You will find it has helped me to enjoy or just to go back and look at the history of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is the size of Texas, and you will find the name Zimbabwe simply means a great house built out of stone, and this is where it comes from. The ancient people of Zimbabwe built this 4 BC, and it is considered one of the 7 wonders of the world. When I got swindled by World Bank, it made me aware of the history of Zimbabwe that I had ignored. Today, if you look at it, March 6, 2009, President Obama signs bill to extend sanctions. Where is this coming from? He extended sanctions that were put in place by President George Bush in 2001, and he imposed these sanctions under a clause or act called Zimbabwe Democracy Recovery Act. And this is not travel sanctions as they call them. This is a punishing tool. If you go deeper into the history of Zimbabwe, in 200 AD, the Bantu people came to occupy Zimbabwe. And then in 1100 to 1700 AD, the city-state known as Great Zimbabwe was built. In 1855, a Scottish missionary called David Livingstone visited this place here, and he found these amazing wonders of the world, and he found the falls here. They are wonders of the world, and as a visitor he found it, and he named this place here Victoria Falls, under Queen Victoria of England. That should not come as a surprise that 2009 in March, Prime Minister Gordon Brown, a Scottish, comes, and the following thing we see President Obama signs the bill to extend sanctions on Zimbabwe. You have to know the history. David Livingstone was a Scot, and he found Victoria Falls. And then in 1871, Karl Marx writes about Great Zimbabwe. In 1885, Chief Lobengula of the Ndebele is duped by the UK, just the way I was duped by World Bank. All minerals, gold, platinum, land, people now had to belong to UK after this chief was duped into signing off the minerals. What happens? There was a movement called Chimurenga, which means the natives have been infuriated, and they started uprising. In the 1890s, a lady called Nehanda was lynched by the British for resistance. They took her land, she resisted, and she was lynched. And the blacks became slaves of UK. So Mugabe revives the Nehanda Chimurenga uprising for the freedom of blacks who were enslaved. In 1980, Mugabe and Nkomo is from the Lobengula Ndebeles, and are duped again by the UK to sign Lancaster Agreement. And UK, Tony Blair, nullifies the agreement that Mugabe and Nkomo had signed, and is duped again through ASAP and economic sanctions which were imposed on Zimbabwe. Now to this day, we see that President Obama has signed the bill, some bill, to enact it that perpetuates economic lynching in Zimbabwe. That has to stop. We call this bullying. How come Kenya, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Ghana, China, USA, UK, Egypt, they all have problems with human rights, they have problems with rule of law, they have problems with democracy, and they have no sanctions? I will refer you to Psalm 61 verse 2, and it says, "And when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I, that is higher than I."